Now let's go into the part of the discussion. We have prepared a couple of questions. We are going to take questions from the audience as well. Let me start with one question to you, because I think it fits very well with what we saw. We saw a lot of nice things happening. We didn't see the humans, though. So, considering the pervasive impact of AI in various industries, how do you see the role of human workers evolving in your respective fields? In what ways will humans complement, collaborate, or potentially be replaced by AI technologies? And how should businesses prepare for these shifts in the workforce? And I'll start with you, Mr. Stiger.
Well, if I take the practical experience I have myself from working with our own factories and customers, I would say the simplest tasks that we do, inspection, simple exchange, those inspections are being automated. These are gone. The next level of, call it reliability work or running the production, is more and more done by multi-skilled personnel, and it's easier to do because you get a much better input. And then you will have a quite big team that are working with the improvement part, the analyzing of data, that to come to solution to further automate, to further improve, to further speed up. And so I think the change of competence is required to a high extent. And I take one example. My daughter came to me and she said they are not allowed to do homework. She's in university because of this ChatGPT. And she didn't like it though, because she said if I ask it to write a report of the middle, let's say, Roman Empire, 200 words, it provided quite a bad text actually. And then I told her, but you need to add more meat on the bone for this. Ask it to write about the Roman Empire from a slave's perspective, at a feminist perspective, and focus on food. And now press enter. And she was like, wow. So I think that the competences that is required will change, because we need to be the master of these data. And it can do just so, we need to ask it the right questions in the right way. So I foresee that a lot of manual, repetitive, call it boring tasks, will disappear more and more. And it will be more automated, and that would require a higher expertise within our factories and much more knowledge around computer and computer science. That's how I see it.
So basically we take people from the floor and we need to add more people on working with data analysis and so on.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think the sum will probably be a minus, because you will be able to do much more with fewer. I think that's the boring truth about it. And I mean, you see it in your personal life. Yes, while flying here, you order your ticket yourself in the system, you do your check-in yourself, you check in your luggage yourself. We are going in that direction. I think we need to understand that and sort of figure out how do we handle that in the long run, which I think will be a challenge.
Very interesting. What about you, Mr. Parkwell? What do you think about the role of human workers in the age of AI?
Yeah, there will still be a role for humans, I hope. I think we automated things over decades or centuries. And we replaced old roles with automation, and those people found other things to do. So I think that will probably be the case now as well. Difference a little bit is probably that now, in the past it's been blue-collar workers that have been affected. Now it's more white-collar workers that are affected. So that's a new thing. And also the speed of it. It's very, very fast. In the past, maybe it took a generation before some automation were in place and people had time to adapt. Now things can happen over a year or 2 years or 3 years or something like that. So it's much, much faster, and that I think is a challenge. But it will automate a lot of boring tasks. I mean, software development, for example, Ericsson is one of the biggest software companies in the world. Of course, we will, like other companies, start to use AI to write parts of the code. The boring standard parts that you can automate. Then, of course, humans need to check that it's okay and that it fits the bigger picture and so on. You can get help of analyzing some code. Okay, what did this old code do? I didn't find documentation. You can get some hints on that. So there's a lot of things you can use it for, and it will be used, definitely.
So it is basically, again, we see a shift in terms of the tasks that we will be doing in the future. But as you very well said, the speed is accelerating a lot. So this could be an issue, basically.
Yeah, I think the speed is the challenge for us humans to adopt and the society to adopt.
Thank you. And you, Mr. Beckers, what do you think?
Yes. First of all, I have to say that I don't think that AI imposes any threat for anybody, for employees or anybody else. I believe that AI will help us have more free time. That's what I believe. Work upon more enjoyable and valuable tasks. Avoid the less interesting ones, the routines, the automated ones. And of course, some jobs will be abolished because of AI. There will be some training or retraining that will be needed for employees. But new jobs will emerge. I mean, we can predict some of these. There are some others that we cannot even predict now. What I often say is take postmen, for example. I mean, when emails came out, we needed less postmen than before.
True.
But then a demand for other specialists, other professionals emerged. Programmers, security, network specialists, etc. So I really believe that AI can give us, can really improve our lives if we use it, of course, in a responsible and a cautious manner, in a way, of course.
Very great. A very optimistic view. People might disagree with you on the threats somehow, but yes, I understand what you're saying. Which takes us actually to the next question is, what measures do you think we should take, such as regulations, policies, incentives, or societal strategies, so that we can ensure, coming back to what you said, Johnny, to ensure equitable distribution of AI benefits while effectively managing the risks and the threats in the workplace, in the sense that we said it will liberate time for all of us, right? So how can we make sure that this privilege or this benefit is going as wide as distributed as wide as possible, not to just a few people, but to everybody in the society? What measures can we take? What could we do to ensure that?
I think it's a challenge. I think your restriction is very, very important when it comes to AI. I think it's important. It will be much more important going forward, because AI can really be used for a lot of good things. It can do so much, and it's, as you said, it's going and growing exponentially by the months, more or less. You see when ChatGPT came, now you can ask actually ChatGPT to do a presentation. It provides pictures. It can do so much. But it could also do bad things. I think we need to have a good legislation in place quite early to mitigate that, so we ensure that it works for the purpose of us and the purpose of good. Because as any tool, you can use it and you can misuse it. And
Correct.
I think today, if you want to create horrible weapons or viruses, this is restricted data to a high extent, versus AI and algorithms are more freely still, because we are still in a perhaps experimental phase. And I think we will mature and as users, but also I think the legislation is extremely critical here. So really glad to have you here.
So it's Mr. Beckers who's going to solve our problem. Bear with it, you have it on your shoulders. Stefan, what about you? What do you think?
It's a very
Any
difficult.
brilliant idea to offer?
It's very difficult questions. Maybe we need AI to solve it.
I know.
I also think that we need legislation and rules in place. But it, of course, depends a lot on what aspect you're looking at. If you use it in Ericsson network to improve some handover algorithm or to detect a falling ball bearing, maybe that's not that threatening. So that you can do. But if you use it for more important things, yes, I think you need something like that. And we need to ensure that we humans are on top of it. And it's also very easy for AI to come up with incorrect arguments. We saw one example there, and sometimes it's like the AI machine is smoking crack or something. It can hallucinate a lot. And if you're not into
That's illegal, you know.
Yeah.
By
I'm
the
not
way,
doing it. Maybe ChatGPT is doing it. Yeah, in most countries, I think. But so I think it requires a lot from us humans as well to be able to detect and judge whether the answer is reasonable or not, and not just buy whatever the AI machine is telling you. I also think that some form of mechanism in the AI machine so that they can explain why it came to certain conclusions is important. Not just it's like this. It should say it is like this because of. That I think is very important. And I know that's a very hot research area as well.
Resonance.
Yeah.
so it could give us also a kick to develop even more our critical thinking, right?
Yes.
Because you cannot just consume what you get from the machine. You have to check it and really verify it and so on.
Yeah.
Mr. Becker.
And I think we need that critical thinking. I mean, just look what's going on in the world right now. It's very important from that aspect as well.
Exactly. Will you solve us the problem, legislation-wise?
First of all, I have to say that I have to mention that there are already some rules, regulations, and principles that can be applied on AI tools. For instance, take GDPR for personal data. I mean, for European law. It can, of course, it can be applied concern regarding issues that have to do with personal data, etc. So there are already laws, principles that can be applied. Apart from that, I'm sure that in the years to come, we will certainly need some more laws and regulations. Besides, you have to know that, I mean, we all know that reality precedes legislator. I mean, usually that's what happens.
That is true.
Okay, of course.
And actually, it's been accelerating the trend the last years because so much is happening, and you cannot really, you know.
Okay, we have to think about it. You know, we have to analyze it first. So it's new reality emerges, and then usually legislator comes in order to regulate it, try to regulate it with laws and regulations. And also, societies and people have the ability to self-regulate. I mean, you don't always need a legislator to tell you that you're obliged to do that or you shouldn't do that or whatever. I mean, there are take smart contracts for interest in cryptocurrencies. Yes. Smart contracts were not imposed by any regulator. I mean, they emerged from the sheer need of the parties to transact in a secure and effective way. I mean, so I also believe in self-regulation. There are no bad and good tools. It's the utilization that matters. So that's what I believe, and that's what I will always believe about tools generally, and also with AI.
Great.
If I might chime in there, I think the point you raised with data is very important.
Excuse me?
The data part of it, the data used to train your network. Are you allowed to use whatever data to train your AI model or not? I mean, I think there are some lawsuits ongoing around ChatGPT, whether they were allowed to use that internet data to train the model or not.
You have to control all these.
And I think the same thing will probably happen in many other areas. I mean, if you train your AI model in one factory, are you allowed to use that model in your competitor's factory?
In another one, exactly.
These type of things.
And then also IPR rights. You have also this issue because you might be using data that have IPR on them and then not giving up the rights to the right people. I mean, we saw what is happening in Hollywood and so on.
Yes, about IP rights, of course.
Yes.
We need to have common sense. We have to understand it's a tool. I mean, it's a tool. Like every tool. What you insert in the tool, it's something that you are responsible for that.
So responsibility and accountability of the user is also very important. Correct.
I think it's simple at the end of the day. It's simple to understand what we have to do with. It's a tool. no matter how complicated it
It
is.
is?
It's just a tool.
Good to hear that, coming from a lawyer. Optimistic view. Thank you. Let's go to the audience now. I'm sure you must have questions. I mean, this is the hottest issue technologically of the last year or so. Any questions from the audience? Someone? Ah, there is one. A microphone, please, here.
First of all, thank you for the very nice discussion. It was
Your
really...
name and...
Sorry?
Your name, please, and...
I'm George Papas. I'm from Ericsson and Vice Chairman of the Hellenic Swedish Chamber of Commerce. I would like to actually comment and make a question related to the legislation, to the way that we will protect the society from AI. And you know, in the first panel, we were discussing about the geopolitics, the democracy, and how all these are connected. And now we are in the last panel that we are discussing about the AI and the possible threats that this can bring to societies and most probably also to our democracy. Imagine that the country is developing the right legislation, the perfect legislation that protects the country from, you know, any possible threat from the AI, but the next country does not do that. What is the answer on that? Or what we can...
How do you deal with the bad
how
guys?
the world
That's
will
what you're
be
asking.
in that case. That, for example, in the autonomous car, you know, in one country, there are everything in place, so we protect the people, the society from accidents, but in the next country we do not. In order not to go to the defense wars and so on and so forth. I brought this example that's quite simple.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you. Mr.
This
Beckers,
is
I
a
think it's first for you.
Very legal question. I have to start billing here, time billing.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So, first of all, my short answer is I don't know. I mean, I have to be honest with you. We have to see things. We're just on the verge of the things, of the issues, of such issues. These issues are legal, philosophical, ethical, and who knows what else. However, I believe that countries like our country, I mean, that are part of the European Union, of course, we have some common laws, common guidelines upon these issues. So I don't think that we will have such problems or such challenges because we are part of this of European Union. However, there might be some issues with other countries who may follow some other regulations and laws. Also, one more issue, challenging issue is, what if somebody, what if a country or a business, an enterprise, develops AI and special AI systems or machines, and those systems and machines are not open to everybody else? What does that mean for that business, for that country, for the rest of the world? These are issues that have to be discussed. They are already being discussed, and I think that there is a lot of work in front of us regarding this issue. So I don't have a strict answer upon this, but of course it's something very interesting, very challenging, and I'm really eager to see how things will develop.
I think, if I might add before passing to you, Stefan, I think it's also important to note that the European Union is working already on that. I mean, again, pioneering in that sense, because it's very early days, there are no rules there, it's like a Far West, so they're trying to set some guidelines.
It's a chaos. It's a chaos now, yes.
Yes.
We're trying to see what this is all about.
Yes. Stefan?
Seems to be good for your business. A lot of legal questions to resolve. You will not be unemployed by AI. No, I don't have a good answer either, but I think it's an extremely good question. But I think it's also a little bit similar to a situation we have, if you look at other areas, there are regulations if you're allowed to do certain experiments or not on animals. There are regulations if you are allowed to emit poisonous stuff in the environment or not. And those rules are different in different countries. And of course, if you have less morale, you might go to a country where you're allowed to do all this kind of nasty stuff because that gives you competitive advantage. And I think the same thing might happen with AI, that you're allowed to do it in that country, but not the other country.
It's like taxes.
So in that sense, it's nothing new.
Now, Stefan, you gave me an idea now. We could ask ChatGPT the question that George asked and see what is the answer, right? Do you want to add something?
No,
John?
I think it's a really good question. And I think if you take the example of the car, you take one country, they have organized the legislation. Still, it would be very interesting to understand if the car has two choices, either hurt you as a driver or hurt the pedestrian, and it had to choose. Who is to blame? You as a driver, who actually are not the driver, the car company, take Volvo, which we had here earlier. I mean, who is to take the
Or
responsibility?
Ericsson, who made the network for the
Who made the
autonomous car?
network? And if it's due to some breaching, yeah. So today we have a lot of supervised AI. In our production for grinding, we are using supervised AI. We have automated guided vehicles in our factories, partly supervised. But when you go over to unsupervised, then I think the legislation will be very critical. And I think it's even more critical when you go cross-border. Yeah.
So there is a lot of work to be done, bottom line, and there are a lot of unknowns and question marks still in the equation. We don't have all the answers. And it's good to know we don't have all the answers. At least we know. Then the next step is to find the answers.
But we can ChatGPT.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we have time for one last question. So let me take that on. Thank you for the question from the audience. In your experience, what are the distinct advantages of pioneering AI adoption, because you all have done that in your industry, as opposed to waiting for it to become mainstream? How has this impacted your work or field? Johnny.
Well, I think, of course, it provides a competitive advantage if you are the first mover. But you also do it at a cost, because you're the one experimenting, you're the one developing, the other ones can follow part of that development. But I think it's also about the culture of a company. Do you want to be a pioneer? Do you want to be in the forefront? Do you want to take the control over it?
So it depends on the DNA as well,
Yeah.
that you carry as a company,
But
right?
it has a high risk, because the first one developing whatever you develop will take a high cost and a high risk. So, but you will also be first.
And you will learn a lot
Yes.
on the way. Stefan?
Yeah, I think AI is just another tool in the toolbox, in some sense, as someone commented. I like that approach. It's not a magic wand that solves all your problems, but it's a really good tool for some problems. And from Ericsson perspective, of course, it's important to master the toolbox, because we want to deliver the best networks. So in that aspect, yeah, we need to master AI. We need to be first, and then first out with new solutions. Like you said, it's a competitive advantage. Then you can also have AI as kind of support system, or administrative system, whatever, and that's a different thing. Then I think you bring in that product when it makes sense economically. But in your own product, if you want to be first and get that advantage, yeah, then you need to master AI like you need to master any other tool.
Mr. Beckers?
I will also say that, yes, being a pioneer gives you the time advantage, which can translate into a competitive advantage. So being an early adopter is something that I think of crucial importance. Or else you will be pressured to follow those who have already done that, and then you have a competitive necessity instead of a competitive advantage. So I really believe in the importance of being a pioneer, especially such kind of tools. In our industry, as you have already said, we are not too fast, so fast,
The
with,
opposite,
and
very
adopting new things
bureaucratic.
and new
Things written in
technologies
hand
and
by
tools.
hand.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Because, you know, we lawyers, we know everything, that's why.
I
That's
didn't
our
know
problem. But in any case, I have to admit that day by day we see more and more lawyers being interested, at least, in discovering the abilities of that tools, the implications of that tools. So I believe that there are things, we have many steps, of course. We have some more steps to do, but I think what we are in a good state, in a good phase right now in my industry. We already use such tools, especially in legal research, like Qualix or several tools, and we can have a research that would once take us days. We can do that in a couple of hours. I mean, it's
amazing.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's like a
But of
miracle.
course, you also have to use your common sense to understand what you're seeing. I mean, if you don't use your common sense, then no tool will save you.
Exactly.
It needs common sense, just that.
So I take that we're all for pioneering, despite the cost. There is a cost attached to pioneering, but we believe it's better to be first than wait for
Of course.
being
Of
afterwards.
course. Absolutely.
Oh, great. Thank you very much for this eye-opening discussion. We're done with our session, so you're released from me. I need to close the... Thank you.